Welcome back to The Greater Good. Got a really exciting guest here today. First, I want to thank my sponsor, San Diego Harbor Police Foundation, for allowing me to put on this podcast where I get to invite really, really interesting, exciting, fun people. And so when we started this show just a couple of weeks ago, I put a list together of people that I thought I'd like to interview or have come and talk on my show. And my guest today was right at the top of that list.
Wow.
And the reason is that this is a person who doesn't just say she wants to be committed to giving back to the community that she lives in or nationally. She actually gets her hands dirty and gets right in there, boots on the ground, and makes things happen. So without further discussion, I want to welcome Sandy Moul to the podcast, The Greater Good. Hi, Sandy. How are you?
Hi, Jeff. I'm great. And thank you for such a warm introduction. Please know that those feelings are very mutual about someone who gives back to the community and takes swift action to do so.
Well, it's really great to see you as always. So for my listeners, Sandy is a remarkable woman who does extraordinary things both here in San Diego County, formerly with InfraGard. I'll have you talk about that if you'd like. And then with the Wohler Foundation and other really important, meaningful, impactful organizations that Sandy is an integral part of. And because of her influence, some really great things have happened. So Sandy, maybe you could tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I've been in the communications and public relations industry for about 20 plus years, but I've always been drawn to the nonprofit world in particular. It's just an industry that's close to my heart, just because of the sense of meaning and purpose involved in giving back. So even in the realm of my work, those were the types of organizations that I was drawn to. And I've tried to just volunteer as often as possible in the San Diego community. And I have a special affinity for our military and our law enforcement, given their role in keeping our country safe.
That's outstanding. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about one or more of those organizations you've worked with.
Sure. So I just completed 6 years with InfraGard San Diego. InfraGard is the FBI's largest public-private partnership. So it's really based on the premise that safety and security is a shared responsibility between law enforcement and the private sector. So we, as people in business, as parents, as members of the community, can really contribute to our own safety. So that organization, we produced a couple of dozen of training and education programs every year focused on mitigating threats ranging from active shooter and workplace violence to earthquakes to cybersecurity, just trying to cover the gamut of what today's businesses are really and communities are really fighting against.
That sounds really exciting. So you were hanging out with the FBI. Did you ever get to go to Quantico or back there and
I
play
did.
special agent?
I did. I've gotten to go to the FBI shooting range, the bomb range. I got to detonate a bomb. How many people can say they got to do that in their lifetimes? I was the first
Yeah.
volunteer to offer to push the big red button.
Wow, that's exciting. Did you get to drive on the skid pads and do fun things like that?
Not yet, not yet. But I did get to stay at Quantico for a couple of weeks. I had a dorm room, and from my window, I could look outside and see the new agent recruits running PT in circles around the buildings. And I was so glad that I didn't have to do that, and I could just, stay in my air-conditioned dorm room.
Well, I'm a former federal agent myself, so I'm familiar with
Yes,
the protocols and the training and the physical part and the mental part. And so I know how
absolutely.
much fun that can be. But then that fun turns to reality when you have to actually go out and strap on your weapon and carry your badge and hopefully, uh, catch the bad guys, as it were. So how long were you with InfraGard?
I was with InfraGard for 6 years. I just finished. I just finished my term last month, and it was truly just one of the greatest experiences of my life. The men and women of the FBI are very dedicated, very courageous, and work countless hours. It's the things that, similarly to law enforcement, even at the local level, you don't see behind the scenes. These people who are working and investigating cases, who are putting their lives on the line every day. If they're going to do a raid, there's so many situations in which they are put into harm's way, but they choose to do it and they willingly do it. And then I think as civilians, it's very important for us to do whatever we can to assist. I mean, we're often their eyes and ears, that saying, see something, say something, where we're out and about in the community. We can, report suspicious activity that we see. But what a great and patriotic thing to be able to do to contribute some way to just making our nation a safer place to live.
Well, thank you very much for the work that you do there. It sounds like you really had a large impact on, if not San Diego County, but something even larger than that. So
Oh, thank you so much.
you should feel good about that, because it shows that that's outstanding. So you work with another organization locally, which also impacts maybe even more specifically wounded warriors. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I've been serving on the board of Warrior Foundation Freedom Station since 2012. It is a San Diego-based nonprofit organization that specifically focuses on assisting ill and injured service members. The organization was founded back in 2004, not surprisingly, a few years after the tragic attacks of 9/11. Operation Enduring Freedom had been going for a few years. And there were a lot of casualties coming back to San Diego. There were amputees. There were so many needs. So the organization was started at that time by a Navy wife, Sandy Lemcooler, to try and meet some of these needs, whether it was paying for airfare and hotel rooms and rental cars for all these families that were coming into town to visit their injured sons or daughters, who were mostly receiving care at Naval Medical Center San Diego, formerly known as Balboa. And then over the years, the mission expanded to include different types of support services, whether it was mentoring programs or outdoor therapy and adaptive sports, just really a holistic approach to improving mental health, physical health, emotional health for all these heroes that had really done a great service to their country. And now we're just trying to rebuild their lives as a new civilian, as a Mr. or Mrs. with illness and injuries to cope with as well.
Wow. So these wounded warriors, they get the physical support that they need. Do you guys also work from an emotional standpoint for PTSD issues, or things that crop into their lives as a result of their deployments or the harshness of what they did?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are definitely post-traumatic stress treatment programs that we fund. And just many of the programs in general involve a lot of camaraderie, a lot of group things, whether it's, we've got some guys that are out in Big Bear fishing and hiking right now. We have a cycling team. We have a wheelchair basketball team. And the thing that I think people don't quite understand if you haven't been in the military, and I've just learned this by virtue of being around them for so long. You're in the military, you're part of this unit, you're part of this brotherhood or sisterhood where literally your life depends on the person standing to the left of you or to the right of you. And when you come back home, especially if you're ill or injured and you're told you can no longer be in the military as a result of your injuries, it's a huge slap in the face of what's next. What do I do with my life? Who am I without my brothers and sisters? And you're also dealing with maybe new prosthetic arms or new prosthetic legs or post-traumatic stress. So it's a huge sea change for these service members. So these programs, getting these guys outdoors, getting them involved in sports, treatments for post-traumatic stress, it's hugely helpful because they're the best support system to continue talking to one another and helping them out of this situation and learning to cope.
So you have a residential component to that as well?
We do. The first one actually is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. We have two. One is called Freedom Station 1. And then the second complex we opened last year is Freedom Station 2. And we affectionately refer to them as the home of the brave, which they are. And they were really conceptualized because again, that transition from military service to civilian life is a place where they need the bridge the most. So if they were getting out and they were just going to go live in, say, an apartment complex, just among strangers, holed up in a room, it would not be the best situation for them, because you get training when you join the military. You don't always get enough training when you leave the military of how you're going to be out in the world as a civilian. So these transitional housing residences, the first has 12 units, the second has 9 units. They live there, and it's beautiful. There are these huge central courtyards and barbecues and fire pits, which really encourage the chatter and the relationship building, and sit around at night. They're surrounded by other veterans who understand what the other person is going through. No matter what time of night it is, one person can go knock on the other person's door. And while they're doing that, we're also supporting them with programs that assist the transition. We have a mentorship program where they're matched up with someone based on their career interests. We help them with scholarship applications, or build their resumes, or get internships, and get laptops for school, things of that nature. And they're learning how to manage finances and go grocery shopping. It's really cute to see some of these bachelors start cooking for themselves for the first time as well. So just dealing with a lot of issues relevant to the transition to civilian life.
That's really exciting. So if people wanted to get involved, volunteer, or support them in some way, how would they connect with the Warrior Foundation?
The easiest thing would be to go to our website, which is www.warriorfoundation.org. You can see some of the different programs available. You can submit the contact form, and it'll actually come to me if there's specific questions or areas of interest. But now we're excited. We could actually use volunteers again, because last year, because of the pandemic, a lot of the events were canceled. So we're seeing those come back now,
Yeah,
which is going to be wonderful to get people back together safely.
So speaking of events, because of my relationship with the San Diego Harbor Police, I did receive a notice from Las Vegas that perhaps you might have been in Las Vegas recently, and there might have been some trouble. Did you
I
want to talk about that a little bit?
I may have been in Las Vegas recently, all for good purposes, of course, for my daughter's volleyball tournament. But yes, you
Mhm.
definitely put on that iron suit of armor when you enter that city, and it kind of keeps you protected until you leave that city. Very interesting, indeed, to see some of the changes. Nevada no longer requires a mask,
Mhm.
so it was very interesting to walk around, and everywhere you go, no one is wearing a mask anymore. You can see people's faces again. It was a Twilight Zone like experience. I think we're headed back that way in California real soon too.
Yeah, yeah, I think, is it June 15th?
Mm.
Sarah, I think it's the 15th of June that the governor said we can start relaxing on the mask mandates. I'm sure a lot of
Yes,
people will be happy about that. Hopefully, they'll be responsible about that, and
yes,
and pay attention to where they are, and some form of social distancing, especially if you're in a crowd, that kind of stuff.
absolutely,
So you have a
absolutely.
daughter, and she was there for soccer, is that right?
Oh, for a volleyball
Oh,
tournament.
volleyball.
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
she's been playing volleyball for a few years now, and it's very fun to watch them compete. And as I mentioned, you're just certainly in the land of the Amazons.
right.
Anytime you're at a volleyball tournament, where you instantly feel like the shortest person in the room. You're surrounded by teenage girls that are 6'3". It's
Uh-huh.
humbling.
So how tall is your daughter?
She's 5'8",
Oh,
and I
so
thought
she's
she was I thought she was tall, and apparently, there are those out there who are taller at this
a lot
age.
of them, right? Yeah. Well,
Yes.
that's exciting. So
Yeah.
in addition to all this great work that you do for the community and nationally and regionally, what do you do for fun?
Oh, goodness. I have more spare time now, which I'm getting used to a little bit, having just finished the InfraGard transition. But I love to read books on leadership, books on self improvement. I love to work out and exercise. I loved going to the movies, so I'm excited to get back to the movie theater as more films start to get back into production. And living in San Diego, there's always so many wonderful things to
Mm,
do. We have such great weather and we have such great industry. So definitely looking forward to the summertime and
yeah.
consistent warmth because we're so spoiled that we don't like it when the temperature drops below
Oh my goodness.
72.
No, it's unacceptable.
It is
Absolutely.
unacceptable.
That's interesting. My wife and I, for years, we had a Friday night date where we would, go pick a movie, maybe meet some friends there, and then go have a nice dinner afterwards and digest the movie or just talk about whatever. But yeah, we've really missed that connection to get out and socialize publicly like that. And unfortunately, during this pandemic, there haven't really been that many great movies even if there was a theater to go to. So hopefully they'll start releasing those ones they've got in the can, just waiting for us to, be ready to go to the theater.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're right. But Jeff, I am very jealous of you. As you know, but I have to visit my nephews again, your horses.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Sandy came out to my wife and I have a horse ranch out in Bonsall, and we brought her out there and put her on one of our bucking horses and strapped her into the saddle, and she survived. I mean, she's tough. It was that FBI Quantico training, no doubt.
It must be. Oh yeah, riding forwards, backwards, sideways. I've got it all down.
No, we didn't do that to Sandy, but she had a wonderful visit and felt. In fact, I just was out this morning early taking care of one of our horses that's got a little owie, little boo boo. So
Aw.
she'll be fine for sure. So just recently, after you turned out at Infragard, a couple of people you know pretty well, including myself, put an arm bar on you and forced you to become one of our new directors for the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation. And when this is really kind of fun for me because as a board member and now the chairman and CEO of this organization, I'm constantly trying to be the cheerleader and motivator. The what do they call it? Capturing all the cats and getting them in one room. Um, and so when Sandy was nominated and approved as a board member, she fired off these letters to me almost immediately with this list of things that she wanted. And I was just so excited when I got that letter. I mean, she had such detail on all the things that she wanted to see before she, you know, jumped in with both feet. I mean, it was, the things that any smart person would do for a new enterprise, a new business, a new nonprofit. I mean, it's the same thing, irrespective of what the mission is. But I took your letter, your email, and I fired it off to my secretary and my treasurer for the foundation, and I said, "This is the kind of person that this
Oh.
foundation needs a lot of." And so maybe you can talk a little bit about what your expectations there are.
Jeff, first of all, I cannot be more excited and honored to be joining the board of the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation. So much respect for you, for my good friend Chief Stainbrook, and all the great work that you've been doing for the past 2 years with the foundation. I had the chance to, as you remember, participate in one of the furniture builds that you were doing for Perkins Elementary School. I was so proud of those few desk chairs that I was able to build. But no, I have so much respect for law enforcement, first of all, which I think is evident. One of my friends in the military once, when we were having conversation about police officers, he said, I deploy to combat zones and I'm gone for 6 or 9 months, and then I come home and I can relax and I know people aren't shooting at me and I'm not in danger. He said, police officers are deployed every single day, 365 days a year. And I thought that was very insightful. We have absolutely tremendous human beings who are out there serving in that profession. So when this opportunity came up, it did not take a lot of arm wrestling on your part or Mark's part. Just, I'm so excited to be involved with all the amazing initiatives you have, increasing literacy, anti-human trafficking. I mean, this is some great stuff that we need in our community. And I love the aspect of it also really humanizes our officers and really shows these amazing contributions that they're making to the community. And I mean, and especially with the harbor police serving 5 different cities, within the port, it's absolutely incredible. So I just look forward to rolling my sleeves up and contributing in any way that I can.
I'm sure you'll be a force to be reckoned with. Yeah. So speaking of those initiatives at Perkins K-8 school, we just launched this last week our Teachers Rule program, which is relationships, unity, and love. And this is a tutoring program where we are focusing on the second, third, and fourth graders at Perkins K-8. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, their reading comprehension rates have dropped by almost 50%. Prior to the pandemic, they were comprehending reading at around 82 to 85%, which is, acceptable. Right now, though, those second, third, and fourth graders, they're reading at 40% comprehension. So they're essentially reading at kindergarten or first grade levels. So we have currently 42 volunteers who are signed up, and we're doing Zoom meetings with each, their individual one-on-one with each student. So they're not teaching these children how to read. That's the job of the Perkins K-8 teachers, and they do a really good job at it. They teach the math and the history and the science and the reading and all of that. But what our job is as tutors is to read with the children and create a relationship, a bonding, where they're not frightened by a book. They're not frightened or concerned about what a word means. It's about learning to be open to acceptance, and to build trust with these children is so meaningful and so impactful. So although the school year ends on June 15th, so we only have a couple of weeks that we'll be working initially with these kids, this was really sort of the beta test for this brand new system, and we hope that other people will pay attention and perhaps do the same thing at other schools. It doesn't take much. You can sign up on our website at sdharborpolicefoundation.org. Go to the volunteering button, and there's an application. It's very quick and easy that will then send you into our volunteer scheduling program. So you can sign up for X number of hours, 1 hour, 2-3 times a day, or 1 hour a week, whatever works within your schedule. And then we'll link you in via Zoom right into the school with that individual student. And then have fun. You can choose from, I think we have about 500 books to choose from. So you can just have a great time with these kids. But most importantly, build a relationship. In the Barrio Logan in particular, it's a very tight knit organization group, family unit, so to speak, and they don't often get outside that. And so for them to have people like yourself, Sandy, or other wonderful people like Dr. Silva, she signed up to be one of our tutors. She and her daughter, Alania, I think yeah, right. Alania, she's a delightful young woman. So we have a lot of young people, a lot of high school kids have signed up to be volunteers. So we're just really excited. Even though it's only for a couple of weeks, we will relaunch as soon as school starts back on August 30th with a vengeance. We're going to be there in numbers, large numbers.
That's an incredible program, Jeff, and kudos to you and the foundation for identifying that need. I mean, literacy is one of the largest determinants of future success. It really is. And it's just fun. It's a way for kids to really just be transported to another world and immerse themselves in all these different adventures. And if they develop a love for reading now, they'll probably maintain that for the rest of their entire lives, and it will help them go so far. And one of the other things that was attractive about the foundation is with the adoption essentially of Perkins, like you're really positioned to make a generational impact. I mean, it could transform that entire neighborhood, that entire community for many, many years to come. It's not one project that you did and then it was off to the next school. I just love that adoption method and that long-term commitment. It's really going to make a difference. It's already made a difference.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, plus, it really showcased the human nature of the police department and the officers that serve there, the men and women who I call the daily heroes. Um, we have there are 9 grades at Perkins K-8 school, so kindergarten through 8th grade. So we have 9 officers who volunteered to adopt a grade level. So those officers, they come on campus, they talk on Zoom, they take kids on field trips. Well, they used to, but that'll be
Mhm.
starting back up again.
Yes.
And they're part of those children's lives, and then they follow them, they track them. So if you're an officer who, say, adopted 2nd grade, then you follow those children into the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and all the way through till they matriculate at grade 8. So there's a relationship that's real, with the hope and aspiration that these children maybe realize that these are just human beings that love and care, as just like most of us, and that they want to help these young children out. So they're there, and so kudos to them. My hats
Mhm.
off. They're just amazing, amazing people.
They are, and who knew? Who knows? Maybe some of these children may follow some of these officers into a career in law enforcement one day.
Yeah. I'm sure, because these cops are really cool. They show up and they've got their cool dogs and their great uniforms and shiny buttons, and
we,
anyway, and they come bearing gifts. And, they're just the kids just really welcome them when they're on campus. Even during the pandemic, these officers participated in their schoolwork on Zoom. They would pop in, say hello, tell a story about what their day was like, what they did in the streets or out on one of our harbor police boats or the airport. They hopefully show these children what it's like to be a police officer. And we're going to be doing other things other than showing them about being a police officer. On my board, I'm very fortunate to have people from Qualcomm, from people from NASCO, Solar Turbines, from the hotels and other industries, the police department, the USS Midway. These are people that they're already preparing programs to introduce these children on an awareness level initially, to those industries. So we're gonna bus them out and take them out of school a couple of times a month and introduce them to these industries, with meaningful, not just your normal apprenticeship stuff, but stuff that really has impact and meaning. And that's going to be a 3-year program for our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So they will
wow.
be introduced to these opportunities that they may not otherwise see. So the first year they get the survey of all the industries, and then we'll let them decide which ones they have a passion for, and then we'll talk to the people they surveyed with, about who had the aptitude or the passion or the interest, and then we'll focus that child, for the next 2 years on just that industry. I mean, maybe they liked NASCO, maybe they wanted to
Hmm.
learn how to be a welder, maybe they wanted to be an architect, ship's engineer, lots of different things. So they'll get 2 solid years after that. So by the time they graduate in the 8th grade, they'll go to high school with some skills and hopefully a passion for an industry.
That's incredible. They will have such an edge going into high school with that knowledge and be able to pursue internships or jobs with those companies.
Yeah.
Also, once they graduate, and give them a path, because you only know what you're exposed to, right? So part of the challenge is getting these kids exposed to all the different industries and careers and opportunities out there, and they'll see what resonates with them. And I mean, to be working with these incredibly large and successful companies in San Diego that are really leaders in their industries, it's absolutely incredible, life changing for these students that are attending Perkins.
So Sandy, I've been staring at your face here for the last almost 30 minutes, and there's this gigantic flag behind you. What's up with that?
So this was a gift and is one of my most treasured possessions. So this flag was actually hoisted in Afghanistan by the Marines, came back, and then I treasure it so much that I thought, I don't want to just put it in a shadow box and have it be small. I want to get it custom framed. Boy, I didn't know what adventure I was getting myself into with finding a framer that could do a job this large. By the time it was done, it's so big that it would not fit in my SUV with all the seats down. I had to borrow a neighbor's Suburban to get this flag home, but it was so worth it. I mean, it reminds me every day of what I love. I was actually born in Bangkok, Thailand, and our parents moved us here. I was only about 2 or 3 years old, but at the time they were worried about the Vietnam War, and they were worried about communism possibly spreading to Thailand. So when I was a little bit older, I asked my parents, I said, so why did we move here? You know, why did we move to America? And they said, because it's the greatest country in the world. You can live the American dream. It doesn't matter where you came from or what you have. You can choose to do and be anything that you want to be. And I never, ever forgot that to this day. And all my experiences here have 100% proved all those things to be true. We're really blessed in so many ways. So it's just, I'm really proud to have this flag displayed so prominently, and really proud of being American.
Well, you certainly represent a true patriot in so many ways, not just with your give back to our community nationally and regionally, but just as a person, you're delightful to know. And I'm just really excited you could be on our show today. And thank you very much for joining me. I just want to thank our sponsor today, the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation. You can go to their website at sdharborpolicefoundation.org and take a look at all the things that we're involved in. And thank you very much, Sandy. It's great visiting with you.
Thank you, Jeff. It was an honor. I really appreciate the opportunity.